All right. Well, welcome. It's been a minute, and the movie playing on out there in the world never ceases to be worth a big pile of popcorn. So, anyways, hope you guys are hanging in, and this meeting is just whatever it ends up being because it's sort of a combination between my virtual coffee calls that I was doing once a month, and then the meetups once a month, and now we're combining it. Plus, we're going to have just some other things that at least Abby and I will talk about a little bit that are, I think, very important and related, but maybe a little bit different than we're used to covering. But we'll do that at the end. So what I really would like is we're going to do a little bit of just touch in with some of the co-hosts a little bit. And if Megan comes on, she was going to share a quick market report because I'm still local, even, oh, there she is.
I'm here.
I'm local to non-local, which sounds like a metaphysical condition. But anyway, super, I don't know. I feel kind of excited, although I've been, it can be very heavy and very stressful what's going on in a lot of ways. In other ways, I'm super excited. So I'm glad to be able to share a little time with you and hear from you guys too. And then so after we go through Megan, David, Abby, and then there's a couple quick questions I wanted to answer. And then I'd like to see if we can kind of, Axel, if we can open it up and if you can tell people what's the best way to get questions to you or to unmute themselves so we have a little bit of that meeting back and forth that we like. And then at the end, last part, Abby and I will just do a couple of different quick screen shares and things. So Axel, can you just have people know, is the chat the best way? Because I can't keep it. I can't use my brain and read the chat at the same time. So.
Well, there you can chat. You can chat support. That's me, Axel, and I can field those questions over to Dawn and Abby as they come to mind. Or you can just simply unmute yourself. Bottom left corner, you'll see like a little microphone. You can just unmute yourself if you want to jump in and dialogue or ask a question.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thanks again for being here. So first off, Megan, I know you're a mom. In case you have to jump off quick, since you're my local real estate guru here in Carson City, Reno, Tahoe area. Let's just hear, can she, oh yeah, her face is up. Can you give us a little bit of a download of what you're seeing as a real estate professional? Also, you had your pulse, and you probably still do a lot on the property management, what rentals are going like, things like that. Just anything you can give us to what you're seeing, what's happening now, what trends you're expecting, etc. And do you need to share your screen for any reason?
I can put up the market reports, or they're posted on my website, which is by Nevada, like BUY Nevada spelled out.com. On the blog, I just posted them a little bit ago. So if you want me to, I'll put them up. But otherwise, if you guys just want to go there.
So someone chat that link, please, and make sure it works. Nevada.com into the
yeah,
chat.
And it's under the blog.
Okay, cool.
Sure. And I posted the Reno Sparks report and the Carson City report. But if anybody wants Minden Gardnerville or Lyon County, let me know. Just for the sake of time, I grabbed the two larger areas and put them up. And just a little about me, if you haven't been on one of our other meetings before. I've been in real estate for 20 years. I have a California and Nevada broker's license. I owned a brokerage up until 2017, a sales brokerage, but I realized I hadn't slept in 17 years. So I sold that, still owned a property management company, and actually sold it last year, and had about 150 properties between Carson City, Reno, Dayton, Minden Gardnerville. And learned a lot from that, but man, property management's a lot of hard work. I'd rather just be the property owner with a few tenants instead of so many. And I also have a business degree, and I've done all of that before 40. I can say that for a couple more weeks, and then it changes. I've always been proud to be able to say, and I'm like, oh no, I'm getting there now. I don't get to say it. It's been done in such a short time frame. But that's a little bit about my experience.
Thank you.
And right now, this year is crazy. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. And it's all been compacted into a few months, really. Last year I had an incredible sales year because after all the other things I've done, now I am selling real estate for the full time. And so last year I had an incredible year. I thought it would be hard to beat this year with everything that's happened, but it's all been crammed into about 3 months and happening. And historically, I've seen real estate slow down significantly during presidential elections. Right now, it's not happening. Everything that I've listed this year, and I'm mainly a listing agent. I do help buyers, but mostly I focus on listings. And I haven't held anything on the market more than a week. Most everything's been within a couple days and multiple offers. And just looking at September's stats, our median sales price for Carson City was $449,250, and last year at this time it was 357.
That's what I was going to say. We've got about $100,000 on our median house price. That's insane.
Yeah. And then our days on market right now, this has got to be days to contract. No, I'm just thinking about this as we just got a new statistical program, because the one that I was using not so long ago was really based on listings and not on sold. And so I wanted it to be based more on sold properties, but the average days to contract for Reno Sparks was, that's what it is, was 40, but Carson's average days on market is showing as 40. But with it being an average, it's probably not far off. I mean, because I have some that have been 20 and 30 days, and then some that have been 60 days. So I can't imagine that's not the average days on market and be too far off.
How's inventory? Low? Is that why the
yes,
prices are up?
Yes, absolutely.
The market's low.
Yeah, it's there is no inventory really. If there's inventory, it's priced wrong or just a fluke. Anything that's going up right now is gone. I mean, immediately, if buyers ask me for a list of properties in all of Carson City, I'm sending 5 or 10 properties, in certain price ranges. I tell them you've got to watch the market and be ready when something that you like comes up, because you're going to have to write an offer right away, and you're probably going to face multiple offers. I hate getting the questions still from people about, what about foreclosures? What about finding, something that is probate? I'm like, probate, yeah, you can still find, but you're not going to find very many foreclosures. I would not be surprised to see that changing a little bit into next year, kind of with what has happened with COVID. But I don't think it'll be huge. I think a lot of it, if that is happening, they're going to get caught and sold in short sales probably before they ever make it to foreclosure.
Megan, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the concentration of the type of buyer? Are we talking about non-owner occupied investors, or are we talking about owner occupied families?
Well,
These up?
a lot of my personal experience this right now has been two things. People who already live in the area that are either upgrading from a few years ago because the current interest rate is so low that they can get into a bigger, nicer house compared to what they were purchasing a few years ago with not a lot of change. Even though our prices have gone up, not a lot of change in their mortgage. Our rental rates are outrageous. And so a lot of people trying to get out of rentals and purchasing. And then the second thing is still a lot of people from California trying to purchase here, even if they're not moving here right away. I've had a lot of people that are purchasing and they're going to rent for 2 years and then come from California. And so it's been, I guess, a lot of mix of local and coming from out of state. It seems like the out of state is mostly California, but I also see a lot of Texas, like Californians coming in and Texans.
Gotcha.
And then it's been so interesting this year. I mean, it's been so packed into one period of time, and then our rental directives just changed prior to the beginning of this month. I think is just in the last few weeks. I have lost track of time with everything being packed into just a few months.
Yeah.
But the directives changed because we could not show any rental occupied properties, even with tenant permission. We still couldn't do it. And that made things very hard with investment property. And that just changed in the last couple of weeks that we can now show it. And so it'll kind of be interesting to see what happens with investment property now that that's changed.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's your take on the effect of the eviction moratoriums on the rental market in Carson City, for instance?
It's painful. I'm still in close contact with the company that I sold, and then also another agent with the property management company I sold, if I didn't clarify that. And then one of the agents that used to work for me now owns her own property management company. And I talked to both of them regularly, and they said, a majority of tenants have been pretty good about it, but the handful that haven't have made life a nightmare because they are not paying, and they don't quite understand that just because you're not paying it doesn't mean you don't owe it. And they haven't been able to take any action to resolve those problems. There's kind of just a small segment that has become a free-for-all and has really made things difficult.
Right.
And it hurts so many people, not just the tenants causing them issues and money owed in the future, but property owners, especially those that don't have, big multifamily that can absorb that loss.
Right.
The people that own, single family, one or two, that really hurts them. And my suggestion to the government in the future is, if you're going to do funds to help towards rent, that you are not paying it to the tenants, pay it to the owners so that it is getting paid. The people still have a place to live, which is what it is intended for. And then those owners don't end up losing their house anyways, or having such a deficit in their income. I think they did that a little bit backwards because the benefit is still there. It just secures the benefit and not the loss, and not have that loss.
Yeah.
Hopefully that we don't get in a position that has to happen again, but if
Well,
it does.
the reason for that, just to clarify, is because if you give it to the landlords, that pays down debt. When you extinguish debt, you shrink the money supply, thus retracting exactly what they're trying to do in the stimulus. But if you give the money to the consumer to hopefully, they save for rent, but everyone knows for the most part they're going to promote consumerism, and that's the bass backwards approach. Without, it's very frustrating. But you're absolutely right. I mean, you're 100% right. There's a reason they do it. They just don't say why, or they are being told by their overlords to do it, and they don't even understand why they're doing it. They're given a script, they're given the talking points, and they say, go run with the ball. Whoever.
And they're not understanding the larger effect that if you don't take care of the property owners, you will not have rentals. Everybody's trying to take care of on the other side. This is my opinion about it, having been a property manager, real estate industry, that if you're trying to resolve the availability, hurt the rental owners so that they don't have them or they can't afford to have them, there is a better solution that still works for everybody.
I'm going to say something very controversial, and I apologize to everyone.
Please, I love that.
But if you're trying to push the world in a socialist environment, that's exactly what you do. Is you hurt the landlords. That's exactly what happened with the Bolshevik Revolution. That's exactly what happened in Venezuela. I'm hitting all of the talking points, and I'm saying this as not a political, but from a monetary standpoint. The Bretton Woods, and I'll kind of get into that later, but the Bretton Woods event that happened in 1944 after World War II, which is the reconstruction of the monetary system, how to rebuild Europe quickly. These Keynesian economic philosophies, Keynes was a socialist. Keynesian economics is what we follow. And this is COVID is the smokescreen in which there is a power grab happening right now, because you know why? The IMF just told us so 48 hours ago. And we can kind of get into all that, but that's exactly what you do if you want to take away from the free market, is you hurt the landlord.
Sorry. And I think that a prime example is seeing all of the exchanges out of California. They've gotten into so many restrictions, and so the people are taking their money out of rentals there and doing it here, therefore reducing the number of available rentals and driving up price of the remaining rentals.
Sure.
And so you've got to let the ability be there to build up the rental inventory. That's what I think about it. So
absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic, and I can't wait to expand on some of those other points too. Hey, Dave Kurtzman, can I bring you in to this at this point? I know you have been running with a little local group and things. And we talked to you last month also about what's happening in Tahoe and what you're seeing there. Are you live with that?
Yeah,
Hey.
we're, I could pretty well piggyback on most everything Megan said.
Yeah.
The big difference here is we have absolutely no construction. So, there's no new homes, maybe 20 a year. They have an allocation system. So that doesn't come into the mix. So there's a pretty high demand for what's here. And interestingly, we're seeing about 35% of the higher price transaction, that being as a guesstimate 500 up to how many million, are cash. And just writing a check or selling their Amazon stock that they just made a ton on or whatever, which I think that's, a lot of that money I think is coming out of the stock market, into a hard asset. But
we're seeing the same with more cash.
Right. And in terms of Abby's question about who are these people, like in my neighborhood, there's about 30 houses and one sells about every 3 years. Well, the last two that sold are now telecommuters. and one family moved in and their kids are still in school in Burlingame. So their goal is to be here, but they're still tied to the Bay Area.
That's right.
They haven't sold their house down there and don't intend to.
Right.
So you're not sure if they're going to become primary residents or it's going to end up being a second home. They're not putting their kids in the local school district.
Right.
But I think this is just all about uncertainty right now.
Correct.
And, talking about pricing, of course, with our limited supply, we're certainly seeing demand exceeding the prices, multiple offers and so on. But it's kind of interesting because there are some agents out there that are, I was a broker for 47 years, but they're out there buying listings, which basically means, sure, I can get you 700,000. 2 weeks later, I think we better drop the price 100. And those are the listings that are dragging on the market because they just assumed that, well, somebody paid 700 for the neighbor's house, therefore they're going to pay that for mine.
Right.
And we don't happen to be a community, a homogenous community. Everybody built a unique house. So comps are very, very difficult from that perspective. We only have really 1-2 subdivisions in town where there's 20 or 30 similar houses. Beyond that, a builder found a plan he liked and threw it up on scattered lots. So we don't normally fit that normal pattern. And the other thing is we've had a few sales that take place from virtual tours.
Really?
Yeah, they're buying it based on an agent walking through with their iPhone or using Matterport. Has anybody seen things that are done with Matterport?
Yeah, I like to use it.
Yeah, they're unreal because it'll create the floor plan.
But honestly, I haven't had to use it hardly at all because stuff is selling so fast. But why we've been just doing video. Yeah, it is expensive. And the same thing that we are, especially the investment properties that we can't get into with the tenants. The same thing, just using video, not even going as far as the Matterport site on, unseen other than video.
Yeah, and an investor is more looking at the numbers than they are, the color of the tile in the bathroom. So this has been the craziest year since the 05-06 period.
Yep.
And, it feels exactly the same, reaching this crescendo. And then, what are the fireworks going to look like when the rocket finally hits the top?
Fireworks of tears.
Yeah. Although, our market is different, and I'm sure it's same in other areas, because in the 05-06, it was how many people do you have to fog the mirror to qualify for the loan? Mm-hmm. You don't quite qualify, bring in somebody else who can fog it. Yeah. And a variable loan, don't worry about it because it'll go up in value. Yeah. And that was the sales pitch. Now, with 1/3 of our buyers paying cash, and about 80% of our buyers are not local. So we don't have the marginal purchases. And unfortunately, the locals have just been virtually priced out of the market, which is really kind of sad.
Maybe, wouldn't you say that's true for Carson too, with someone, having a regular job and paying $450 for a median-sized house? Can they really afford it because the rates are low? Is it still easy to get those super cheap loans, or what would you?
It's really tough for anyone local or starting out to get into a house.
But at least the good thing is they're not pushing the variable rate loans.
Right. I haven't seen.
They're all getting in on fixed rates, and that that bodes well for the future.
And I was curious, Dave, have you had any, I know you said you're dealing mostly in cash, but with things with loans, have you had any of them have to be corrected by appraisals because the appraisals came in low?
It's just starting to happen because, again, people are chasing the price and the comps aren't there. Right. So I've just seen a couple of those show up.
Yeah. And I have had it happen recently with, I'm proud to say, just with buyers and not on listings. So I feel like I'm listing right. But with buyers, it's happened a few times and it's frustrating. But then I've stepped back and thought, okay, this is helping keep things from going through the roof. So it's definitely has good and bad to it. But I just wondered if it was just here, or if you were seeing that too.
Well, I think anywhere, anywhere where we Californians are coming in, with this huge pile of money.
Could you stop that? I mean, I appreciate getting paid, but things are going a little nuts.
I know. But no, but I think, the buyers here, a friend of mine and I shared a listing, and it was listed at 731, and 14 people looked at it. No offers were over 700. And we were talking about lowering the price, and the next day, 731 cash walked in the door. Go figure. They wanted the house, and money wasn't the object.
Interesting. One thing that after I was listening to you last month, Dave and Abby, you guys talking about that migration that we have, especially from the Bay Area, given the remote working and people kind of getting out of Dodge there a bit. And then in concert with, when was that, last year or the year before, where California, South Lake Tahoe, was it just South Lake that shut down those short-term rentals?
They were voted out 2 years ago, and next year is when they die. It's still in court,
Do the current ones get a stay?
No, they go too.
They go to. I thought that someone had told me, and I didn't check it, that the current could stay, and then they were going to have a moratorium on the number that.
No, they're not issuing any new ones, and they all expire. They're not renewing.
Oh man!
What was that?
There's about, just in the city limits, and we've got 20,000 people. There's 1,400 of them that are going to go out of existence. What's interesting, because the way we're set up, about 80% of our population is in the city limits, and the other 20%, contiguous, which for those who know the area, Myers, they are not restricted on the number. So their sales are going through the roof for vacation rentals, and the neighbors are just about to go to war with these people, with the vacation people. And because it's just driving them crazy. If you got a house and 3 vacation rentals are around you, and each one of them sleeps 10 and 30 people show up on Saturday or Friday night to start partying, you're going to be upset. And that's the battle that's going on. And in fact, my accountant had that exact thing to happen to him. He was going to move next year. He's already got a house in Idaho. And he was going to move next year, and he saw where our prices went, and he said, I'm out of here. And he'd been here since 1965. Wow. But the vacation rentals forced him out of town, basically.
So after the permits expire, will a certain number be able to reapply?
No.
Or they are gone completely?
They're gone. There's a lot of Pottery Barn furniture showing up on all of the upcycle.
We need that brought down here, because we can't buy anything.
But check the Tahoe upcycles, because there's, all of a sudden you'll see a pile of pictures of all of the people catching trout and bears, and all the wood posted beds, and and all that kind of stuff. And that house just got sold or is going up for sale because it's a vacation home.
That makes sense. One of my rentals has a very cabin-y feel of things we've got in other places. I'm like, oh, that's why we could find it affordable.
Yeah. But if you want some of that furniture, just follow the Tahoe sites. But that's just in South Lake Tahoe, and I think State Line, Nevada, or Douglas County just basically said they're going to go into a strict enforcement of
I think that might be Douglas County, might be that they're talking about only. That's probably where I was getting confused, that they are only going to allow a certain number of additional.
Right.
It's a proposed plan, I think.
And that's what's weird, because our little town consists of part of the state of Nevada and the rest of it's in one county, but we're divided into 2 municipalities within that one county, and we're only talking about 30,000 people.
Right.
Sort of like St. Louis.
Was that South Lake Tahoe, or was that all the cities in California around the lake?
South Lake Tahoe,
Just South Lake
California
Tahoe.
only.
Because so
And about the only place that's exempt from it, believe it or not, is Lakeland Village.
really,
Yep.
Huh. Well, the interesting thing is that, you know, like I was saying, between what you just said and the migration, I was trying to go, you know, in mid-March to the end of April, we have a handful of short-term rentals here in Carson City, surrounding areas. And I expected, they all went down, right, for that 45 days or so, 60 at the most. And then we've just been slammed. So it makes sense because they don't have anywhere to go in Tahoe. So everyone's coming over the hill
Oh, yeah.
here.
The vacation rental business here in October and before the ski areas open up has always been dead in October, November. Now they're totally booked.
Yeah, and so the people that are coming in, like the Washoe property right now is out for a month this is the dead season where nothing happens, but they're here from a month, bunch of, handful of young adult males that are all just, hey, why not pay $1,000 each? We can live
and have parties
remotely,
in your house.
Oh, no.
Out in the country.
Oh man, I had a couple rounds of those types, and yeah, that was bad news.
I'd be happy to go check on them for you, but I cannot promise I'll stop the party.
I know you'd probably be a liability in that regard. But another thing that's unique, and then we'll kind of get on, with the show here, but just legislative session. Just one of our 4 is tied up already. Are people?
I was about to ask you that.
Like going on, because usually by October, almost all 4 are. So only 1 out of 4 is booked so far. I was just curious if you were seeing anything.
Do you think that
you're actually the one that filled up my Washoe one last year with those lobbyists? So I was just curious about.
I was wondering if maybe they were waiting until after
elections. That's what I was thinking too.
To decide, because it is a little bit strange. The people I normally have come haven't made any commitments yet. I'm like, are they thinking maybe with COVID something might change, or if they're waiting for election to happen? It's very strange.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious if it's like, oh, okay, my marketing really sucks this year or something. Yeah. But all right. Well, very cool on that. Thank you so much. That was really super great, especially for us in this region, and hopefully for the people listening, you can get something out of that as well. So right now we're half hour in. Let's go ahead. Is there anyone who's live on the call that has questions? You want to unmute, you want to ask something, share something, go over a scenario? I have a couple things in the back on the computer that I can share if there's nothing else going on. But let's open it up to anybody who wants to say something, ask something.
Quick question, if I might.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Hi. Because I'm from Texas, and so I'm not surprised. I was expecting, my sister lives in Reno, so I was expecting people from the Bay Area to come to the Reno area. That was no surprise, but I'm surprised to hear there's people from Texas coming, because I know.
Too.
Yeah. Traditionally, people from Texas often went to Colorado to get out of the heat. So maybe
I think that
I'm just curious about that. Go ahead.
Sorry, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that for a lot of them I've talked to, Colorado's become too liberal, and so they're looking for other options. And I've had a couple say, "Well, we have too many people coming from California," and I'm like, well, "Nevada, you might be careful there."
I suspected that might be a factor.
I think that it is. It's that the places that they're going have changed too much, so they're looking at Nevada.
Yeah.
Problem is that they're importing their politics with them and they don't even know it. So they just move to another state and keep voting the same way they were on the other state.
I'm not above saying to people, you're welcome to move here, just don't bring your politics.
Yeah, well,
In fact, I say it pretty regularly. I tend to end up with people that are I do have some that are very different and I get along with them great, but I tend to end up with a lot of people on the same mindset.
Sure. Being in the center, it's very stark. You see the very stark, the difference between last, decade. I say last decade. I'm talking about the 2000 to 2010s, which was the Bush era, the Cheney era, Halliburton, and then now we're coming, out of the 2010s to 20s, and then kind of into the 20s, which is this new. The money has shifted. The thought process has shifted over to, and of course, hyperpolitics. Opposite direction, but it's the same old, you know what I mean? It just has a new face on it, and it's quite stark.
Somebody once said to me, he said, never describe it as a pendulum.
Why is that?
Describe it as a spiral staircase. Then you're going from side to side, but hopefully you're going somewhere.
Yeah. Good
Hope you're not falling down it at a really fast speed. Hitting every step on the way down.
So I've got a question concerning Las Vegas. And I was talking to someone the other day, and Tahoe is swamped. Reno is busy. Carson is busy. And I've heard that Vegas is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said is that Carson, Tahoe, and Reno, all being, gambling areas, are drive-up markets, and Vegas is a fly-in market.
Mm-hmm. You don't have a Tahoe near Vegas.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just curious what the impact is that's going to have on the Vegas market.
Well, I mean,
is anybody on here from Vegas? In Vegas?
I can speak to the assets that we're seeing in Vegas, and I can also compare that to the assets that we saw in Vegas in the wake of the 2008 market crash. We're seeing identical, for different reasons.
Hey, just to back up, Abby, tell them what kind of assets.
I beg your pardon.
Who you are.
Of course. So I am a mortgage note buyer. We wholesale mortgage loans. We purchase first position and second position mortgage loans pretty much nationwide for the most part, and have been operating pretty much in all 50 states since 2006 for the most part. And we get a tremendous amount of data from all over. And Vegas was a spot that was radioactive for a very long time in 2009, 2010. We're not quite there yet, and we may not even be close to there, but we are seeing a huge exodus from Vegas. Property purchases are stagnant. I'm not saying that they're not selling, but, David, to your point, you have up the hill from Reno and Carson, this beautiful Lake Tahoe area. And then right on the other side, you can go down the hill if you want and be kind of, in the, the central, California area or the Bay Area very, very quickly. Whereas in Vegas, as you mentioned, Megan, it's the fly-in, right? So or Dawn, or someone had just mentioned it's the fly-in. So you fly in there and there's nothing around for 3 or 4 hours, nothing. LA, 4 hours, Phoenix, 5 hours, or so forth and so on. So it is at a disadvantage, and it sometimes does not weather the ups and downs of all kinds of unexpected markets, especially the ones we've been seeing in the past 12 years, 14 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on Twitter, and Governor Sisolak, he is getting freaking slaughtered because he has just decimated, since he's been in charge of the shutdown in our state. You see him get slaughtered all the time, and especially because the strip is turned into this sort of rough place that looks dangerous. So even if they open back up, people are going to have the memory of these crimes and these weird things going on in this weird ghost town. down there. So I don't know.
I've referred several people to Vegas this year, and when they say it, I'm like, but why? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people love it. I just can't imagine.
I think Vegas will surprise all of us if and I've been preaching this and screaming this from the mountaintops, so whoever will listen, innovation is going to break the cycle or protect the cycle from a major downturn. So if there's some sort of real estate innovation, as like Airbnb innovated the real estate industry, or Uber innovated the taxi industry, or HipCamp is innovating the bare land industry and the camping industry, I feel like that there's a lot of space there for innovation that could come through maybe cannabis tourism of some sort of new, unexpected, something that someone wasn't counting on kind of innovation that would come out of nowhere. That would change things. That is a possibility anywhere.
They just keep trying to reinvent the casino and gambling, and it's just not there. I mean, that's not an attraction the same way as it used to be, and so it's
right
the struggle.
Yes. I mean, it's very likely that things are sort of getting, I don't know, they may be posting more cases, but there's not more death, and there's certainly not a pandemic level of loss of life by any stretch. There's no actual support for the state of emergency that they've got going. But even so, that I think that's sort of rounding the curve. I expect that more shenanigans are going to be probably brought upon us to try to do another round of it. People will be susceptible because their immune systems are compromised by never going outside, by wearing masks constantly, things like that, even getting flu shots. And I'm going to go into some of that a little bit. I know that already boggles people, and they're going, "Oh, she's one of those." Well, yeah, it's probably. So, but all I can say is, you know what? You can tune out. This is just me. You're here because you want to be, and if I offend you, I'm sorry. But look at that, So to me, I try to look at everything with an open mind. But to me, the positive, even if I expect some more mess as we go into the end of this year and next year, to your point, Abby, innovation and the people can think out of the box and can see other futures. I have a great hope and faith in humanity for coming up on local levels, regional levels, all that, to really some amazing things that will be a lot healthier and more positive for humanity coming out of that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Why isn't Vegas the innovation for online gambling? That should have been Vegas's deal. Right. Sorry, that's
it's true. I think that I've just.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take us off track, but that was just going through my mind when you said that about the innovation.
What fun is that? I mean, I like going to Vegas because I like to see and feel the energy. I like to interact with people and see shows, and that's no fun. I think Vegas is going to like you have. Someone had just mentioned they're from Texas. Like in West Texas, you have Bitcoin mining facilities going up and data centers in Kingman, Arizona that stretch for miles. I'm saying that these types of job creations in areas which require a lot of land and a lot of sunlight to run these facilities may be the answer that Vegas needs to supplement the job market away from just gambling and
well, it could have been the tech center for it and the servers, and I mean,
sure,
it was what it was known for already, and they missed the boat on that. Like, it just blows my mind that could have been such a big thing for the state and for Vegas for bringing in jobs and
probably because they didn't want to go in competition with themselves.
Right.
But they're losing that out on the.
But it's interesting, you've got the tourist gambler, the tourist poker player, whatever. But I know some people that live and they play poker 8 to 10
And they
hours
should have been
a day.
capitalizing on those people.
Yeah.
And in addition to the tourism, it could have been tied together. Sorry, we're way off track, but it's just was going through my mind.
Yeah, but I think that Vegas market's going to be an interesting market over the next couple of years.
But I think a lot of things are going to be very interesting. I know me just managing my portfolio the last year has been very interesting. But anyway, but I think a lot of things are working out better than I thought, and some not so much. But anyway.